Hey everyone, welcome back to the Real 4K Action Cam Showdown. We've got 8 of the cheapest 4K action cams and 4 have been knocked out, so let's put the remaining 4 side by side and get this down to 2 finalists. To start, we have the Apeman A77 versus the Dragon Touch Vision 3. The Apeman A77 right out of the gate has a head start over the Dragon Touch Vision 3, as it's our only real 4K action cam that we're testing in this comparison. While the real 4K isn't perfect, in terms of detail at 4K resolution at least, it does better than every other camera in this group. Zoomed out like this, it's rather hard to see, so let's take a close-up look. And here's a close-up of the Apeman A77 at 4K resolution. It's honestly got a good amount of detail, even if the colors aren't particularly accurate. There's 30 real frames per second, and it is 3840 by 2160 resolution. Neither the Apeman nor the Dragon Touch Vision 3 have EIS. Speaking of the Dragon Touch, here it is in the exact same situation. Video quality is much more stuttery. It skips every second and then every third frame. As well, there's a lot of compression noise when the camera moves. Like for example, if I take a still shot here versus a still shot of the Apeman A77, the difference in detail is significantly higher, and that's actually masked by me moving the camera. When I move the camera, it kind of keeps everything so that your mind fills in the details, but when it's held still like this, the compression is significantly higher. Now we're looking at Apeman A77, 1080p, 60 frames per second. It's not very good honestly, it looks like an upscale from 720p. It's a little bit crunchy, there's some blocking and sharpness artifacts around all details, but the Dragon Touch Vision 3 on the other hand doesn't really do that much better. It's got all this weird sort of softness to the image, again like it's been upscaled from 720p, and some filters are being applied to smooth things out. The first thing we're going to do with these cameras is take a sample at each resolution. This is just to determine which resolution the camera films best at for the rest of the review. The first thing we're going to do with these cameras is take a sample at each resolution. This is just to determine which resolution the camera films best at for the rest of the review. And finally, 1080p at 30 frames per second. Both the Apeman A77 and the Dragon Touch Vision 3 do a pretty good job at this resolution, although I'd say that the colors on the Dragon Touch are a little bit more accurate. Either camera at the 1080p 30 resolution will do pretty good, but there is one big thing missing from both of these cameras that may be the make or break for either camera if they made it to the finals. And that is image stabilization. Neither of these cameras have it, and on a rough road riding my bike, you can really tell. With the camera mounted to the bike handlebars on this sort of pebbly and gravelly type road, the cameras shake a lot and make the clips almost unusable. In my opinion, the Dragon Touch Vision 3, yeah, it is fine at 1080p 30, albeit a little over-sharpened. 1080p 60 is somewhat subpar, and the 4K is definitely fake. The Apeman A77 on the other hand, it's fine at 1080p 30, the 1080p 60 is kind of subpar, and the 4K 30 is actually decent. It also has notably better audio quality and a little bit easier to use interface. And there we have it, our first finalist is decided, the Apeman A77. The next two cameras I'm comparing are the Crosstour CT8500 and the Jeemak M5, and honestly I'm at a bit of an impasse with these two cameras. They both have kind of crap white balance, really low quality image stabilization, relatively painful user interface, and resolutions that overall look smudgy and unappealing. Like check this out, this footage of me riding across this trestle bridge with the CT8500 versus the M5. It's really wobbly, isn't it? These cameras are supposed to have image stabilization. Let me show you the comparison camera I had mounted next to these ones. Dead smooth. This guy, by the way, is the Akaso V50 Pro, which costs around $100 and is a substantially better camera than anything we've tested in these comparisons. I'd also recommend the V50X, but we'll get into that later. What about still photos? Well, it's kind of a toss-up here too. One camera has been sharpened way too much, while the other is kind of soft and smudgy. Jeemak M5, by the way, that's the soft and smudgy one. Alright, so how about audio quality? Well, I don't know if you can tell, but it is super duper windy. So this is an audio sample with me talking directly to the camera when it's really, really windy. I don't know if you can tell, but it is super duper windy. So this is an audio sample with me talking directly to the camera when it's really, really windy. All right, now I have the external microphone plugged into the Crosstour camera. So this is the difference between using the external microphone in a windy scenario where my body is blocking the wind versus using the built-in microphone on the camera. All right, now I have the external microphone plugged into the Crosstour camera. So this is the difference between using the external microphone in a windy scenario where my body is blocking the wind versus using the built-in microphone on the camera. Yeah, okay, so the CT8500 hands down far and above wins for audio quality. It's night and day. There is almost no comparison. All right, I think that settles it. Jeemak M5, say goodbye. A quick note here, the Crosstour CT8500, I would not recommend buying this camera even though it's making it to the finals. The Vantop Moment 4U is the exact same camera, but it has a touchscreen to navigate the relatively terrible user interface. Not that I would buy the 4U either, mind you. Yeah, we'll talk more about that in the finals. And so we're on to the finals with the Crosstour CT8500 versus the Apeman A77. Any guesses which will win? Leave them in the comments below. I've also got Patreon. You can subscribe there for early access to my videos, raw sample clips, and more. See you in the next one.